Imagine starting as a small frontier tribe on the edge of a crumbling empire, and within a few centuries, ruling lands from Budapest to Baghdad and Mecca. That's the story of the Ottomans. In this video, we'll see how a minor Anatolian beylik under a leader named Osman became one of the most powerful empires in the early modern world, the Ottoman Empire. At the end of the 1200s, Western Anatolia was a political mess. The Byzantine Empire still held some land around the Sea of Marmara, but it was weak. The interior was full of Turkish principalities, or beyliks, founded by Turkic groups who had moved in after the Seljuk and Mongol upheavals. One of these beyliks was led by Osman, or Osman I, around the town of Soğut. We don't have a lot of contemporary sources about him, but later, Ottoman tradition remembers Osman as the founding figure. A commonly accepted date for the birth of the Ottoman polity is 1299, when he asserted his independence from the Seljuk Sultanate in name, if not in practice. Osman and his warriors pushed into Byzantine borderlands, capturing forts and towns. A key early victory was the Battle of Baphius in 1302, where Osman's forces defeated a Byzantine army and gained more control over the countryside. His son Orhan, who ruled from the 1320s to the 1360s, turned raids into something more permanent. In 1326, Orhan captured Bursa, which became the first real Ottoman capital. From there, the Ottomans started to look not just like raiders, but like rulers, with a base, income, and an administrative center. The real game changer came when the Ottomans crossed into Europe. In the mid-14th century, under Orhan and then Murad I, who ruled from 1362 to 1389, they took advantage of civil wars and weakness in the Byzantine and Balkan states. Around 1354, after an earthquake damaged the walls, the Ottomans seized Gallipoli on the European side of the Dardanelles. This gave them their first firm foothold in the Balkans. From there, they moved quickly. They captured Adrianople, Edirne, in the 1360s, making it their new capital in Europe. In 1371, they crushed a Serbian-led force at the Battle of Maritsa. And in 1389, at the famous Battle of Kosovo, they fought a coalition of Serbian and Allied forces. The battle was bloody, and both Murad I and the Serbian leader, Prince Lazar, died, but it helped secure Ottoman influence in the Central Balkans. Murad's successor, Bayezid I, 1389 to 1402, pushed even harder. He subdued many Anatolian beyliks, besieged Constantinople, and defeated a Crusader army at Nicopolis in 1396. For a moment, it looked like the Ottomans might overrun what was left of Byzantium entirely, until a new power arrived from the east, Timur, also known as Tamerlane. In 1402, at the Battle of Ankara, Bayezid was defeated and captured. The empire briefly fractured in a civil war among his sons, known as the Ottoman Interregnum, 1402 to 1413. After this crisis, the Ottomans rebuilt, and they didn't just grab land, they built systems. Mehmed I, ruler 1413 to 1421, reunited the core territories. His son, Murad II, ruler 1421 to 1451, stabilized the frontiers and reconquered lost lands in both Anatolia and the Balkans. By this time, distinctive Ottoman institutions had taken shape. The timar system. Land revenues were assigned to cavalry officers in exchange for military service, tying local elites to the state. The devshirme. In many Balkan Christian communities, the state periodically recruited boys, converted them to Islam, and trained them to serve as elite soldiers or administrators. The Janissaries, an elite salaried infantry corps, originally made up of these recruits, loyal directly to the Sultan. They became one of the most effective standing armies in the region. Administratively, the empire was divided into provinces under governors, beys and beylerbeys, with a hierarchy of judges and officials applying Islamic law, Sharia, alongside Sultanic law, Kanun. The Imperial Council, or Divan, brought together viziers, military leaders, and legal experts to run day-to-day government. And culturally, the Ottomans began to invest in architecture, scholarship, and the arts. Even before their greatest monuments, earlier sultans built mosque complexes with schools, hospitals, and soup kitchens. Later, in the 16th century, under sultans like Suleiman the Magnificent and architects like Mimar Sinan, This cultural flowering would reach its peak, but the foundations, patronage of scholars, bureaucratic scribes, and religious institutions, were laid much earlier. What's important is this: by the mid-15th century, the Ottomans were not just warlords. They had a centralized, multi-ethnic, multi-religious imperial system that could tax, judge, and mobilize millions of people efficiently. All of this set the stage for the moment that would make the Ottoman name famous worldwide: the conquest of Constantinople. In 1451, Mehmed II, later called the Conqueror, became Sultan. He was determined to capture Constantinople, the ancient capital of the Byzantine Empire, which still controlled a strategic position between Europe and Asia. In 1453, Mehmed assembled a large army, including powerful gunpowder artillery, massive cannons capable of battering the famous Theodosian walls. After a siege of about 53 days, the Ottomans launched a final assault on 29th of May, 1453. Their troops broke through. The last Byzantine emperor, Constantine XI, died in the fighting, and the city fell. Mehmed II made Constantinople, soon widely known as Istanbul, his new capital. He repopulated the city by bringing in Muslims, Christians, and Jews from different parts of the empire, rebuilt its defenses, and sponsored new buildings, including the Topkapi Palace and major mosques. From this new center, the empire continued to expand into the Balkans, taking Serbia and Bosnia in the 15th century, into Anatolia, absorbing remaining Turkish principalities, and in the early 16th century under Selim I, into the Middle East, defeating the Mamluk Sultanate in Syria and Egypt and taking control of Mecca and Medina. By the time of Sulayman the Magnificent, the Ottomans were at the height of their power, ruling a vast empire that spanned 3 continents.